And We Grown Now, set in 1992 Chicago, specifically the projects, we get a coming of age film with few peers that you can quickly compare it to. Summarizing the film a bit further, it's 1992 in Chicago. It will focus on the former Cabrini Green projects, or rather public housing area. We focus on two boys. One's named Malik, the other one's named Eric, and they've known each other since they were babies. Their families are close, not to the point where there's like big family dinners, but if Eric ever wants to come over for dinner, he can, and Malik can do just the same. But unfortunately for both boys, at this point, the projects, or rather public housing, is starting to really deteriorate, not only in terms of the quality of the buildings, but also the culture that's around them. For while kids are still able to play outside, and people like Anita, who is Malik's grandmother, are still, watching the kids as they play, as they sew and do whatever. Gang violence, drugs has increasingly become a part of the culture, and after one kid gets shot and killed, that leads to Dolores, Malik's mom, deciding that she needs to step it up at work and provide a better life for not only Malik but also his little sister. And in the process of that, Eric, who is starting to seemingly get a little bit settled and losing hope, has to deal with the idea of not only his best friend leaving, but perhaps his life, since he's not the smartest kid, most athletic or anything, at least at this point in his life, that maybe what made him special was this relationship that kind of gave him that confidence and validation, and how does he live without it is something to ask himself. So getting to the review section, one of the things that we were not expecting to be a highlight in this film is just seeing the benefits of watching a character raised in a multi-generational family. But it's just something about watching Anita not only just casually talk to her grandkids about her life in Mississippi with their grandfather, and then how they came up north in order to have a better life, but there's also something about watching Dolores lay on her mother, looking for comfort after having a long and stressful day. And then you see Malik doing just the same, where he's laying on his mom, that just feels so sweet in a way that doesn't feel like it's pandering to you. It's just a moment that honestly I just don't feel like we get to see that often, especially when it comes to black characters, since there's usually such a push to show survival or else them thriving while living in excess, that having sweet moments where the best thing about your day is just to be able to just cuddle up with your mother, I don't think we get that, and it leads to such warm and tingly feelings that I won't say that it necessarily compensates for this having the usual urban drama stuff of somebody dying and all that, but it makes it so that it feels more like something that's just part of the world rather than the main focus or the catalyst for everything. With that said, we also believe the friendship that you see between Malik and Eric is also wonderful, for it feels very much like there's this movie I remember watching that's a 90s movie where it jumps from, as many did, from the teen or childhood years and then goes you into the adult years. And when it comes to We Grown Now, it feels like instead of doing that time jump to when they're adults, we stay strictly when they're like kids or teens and get to see how beautiful a relationship they had and how that foundation really strengthened them, not only in terms of their friendship, but it also strengthened them as who they were as individuals. Because as much as you can see that when it comes to Malik's family and also Eric's family, they're both the second boys in the other person's family, there's also this relationship with them jumping on mattresses, how they reaffirm each other, how they shout out to the world that they matter. It's one of those things where you not only want it for your kids, you would hope that's what your friends have with people outside of you, even though, of course, it's like, make sure you remember I'm number one. But the point is, as you can see by this sort of smile that's coming on my face, it's so beautiful and it's so cute that, again, it's one of those things you feel like is not seen enough when it comes to movies that's focused on the Black experience or even the urban experience. And it's why we noted in the beginning that there's not really any easy to compare peers besides, of course, the show The Chi. Which leads us to just capping off all that with the final highlight, which is, while it's an urban drama, it isn't utterly depressing. Yes, a kid gets shot and killed. Yes, Chicago PD rips through Malik's home in a raid just because of how drugs and gang activity is becoming a real big problem. But We Grown Now tries to make it clear it's not one of those it's hard out here in the hoods type of films. It wants to acknowledge what the culture, what the time period and the environment challenged and gave people who lived in that area, but at the same time it makes it very much clear. Just because it's something that's happening in the area, it's not what contains it's not everything when it comes to somebody's life. Dolores is working on getting herself, her mother, and her 2 children to a better place. She works in payroll and may not have a college degree, but she's been whooping ass and taking names at work. When it comes to Eric's dad, he works seemingly at a pizza parlor, but he's doing well. He might be a widow, which is a story that they don't really go into, but you can see he's affected by it. So it's like he has other things going on in his life than whatever's happening with a bunch of kids who dealing drugs or whatever. He has a daughter that's about to go to college, be the first one to potentially graduate, and it just reminds you that, again, like The Chi, a lot of outsiders may think this incident, these type of people, whatever, that's all this community has, but it's not. There's so much more to a place, whether it's Chicago, Compton, Newark, or whatever, than the headlines that people see on the news. There's people there who've lived there their entire lives, multiple generations, and what you hear, what you see, yes, it's something they live with, but it's not the summary of their lives. Overall, when it comes to We Grown Now, it definitely is the type of urban drama, black film, regular drama, whatever you want to call it, that deserves a pedestal by giving young actors notable roles, writing and performances, allowing actors who are a bit older than them to have their place, in making it so it both acknowledges the conditions and the environment, but reminds you that no one is a summary of where they come from. And it's not always in the form of, they're gonna eventually move away and become bigger and better than where they come from, but sometimes it matters where they came from in that place and what kind of culture it held, even if that culture is going to a negative way, because there's still that old school way that Anita and others brought from the South, where when it came together, it allowed for all the brilliance that you see, even if that brilliance is not what people often want to talk about.